many more copycats are waiting in the wings for their moment of fame? A dozen more killers? 100 more? How can we possibly even guess how many, given our nation's refusal to create an active national database of the mentally ill?
Or do anything violent. And it's almost impossible to predict who's going to snap without a prior history of violence. But still, what's the harm in taking precautions? To answer that question, we turn to California. California's Armed Prohibited Person system aims to confiscate guns from 3 groups: those with a history of violence, wanted criminals, and anyone the state believes has a severe mental illness.
Because one nurse wrote false information, now I'm on a prohibited persons list. I've never done anything to hurt anybody.
Lynette Phillips and her husband David have never committed a violent crime, and Lynette's certainly not a wanted felon. But she does have a mental illness.
I was diagnosed about 13 years ago with anxiety disorder. Once I was diagnosed, I felt, okay, this makes sense now, all this excessive worrying. And once the medication started taking effect, I felt like a normal person.
Lynette ran into trouble when she switched her medication from a pill to a patch. She rushed the transition because she wanted to be well in time for her first Christmas with a new granddaughter.
What ended up happening was I couldn't stop crying. There wasn't anything I saw, experienced, everything would make me cry.
Desperate to stop crying, Lynette asked her son to find a hospital for her to check herself into so she could stabilize her mood. The local hospital was full, so they ended up at a facility called Aurora Charter Oak.
That's where my nightmare started. I thought my nightmare crying that was a piece of cake. I was admitted based on me being suicidal, that I could potentially drive my car off a cliff, which I never said those words. The nurse never said those words. So where the cliff came into play, I don't know. Once I said goodbye to my husband, once I got to the unit, they did their assessment and started giving me paperwork. And that's when I realized I was 5150 involuntarily being admitted.
Despite voluntarily seeking treatment, Lynette was involuntarily committed to the hospital. Representatives at Aurora Charter Oak declined to comment for this story, but Lynette says she was released before the full 72 hours, once the hospital psychiatrist actually had a chance to see her.
He said better policies and procedures should be in effect so this doesn't happen. Nobody apologized. That's as close as to an apology as I got.
Lynette has a letter from her personal psychiatrist backing up her claim that she sought treatment voluntarily. But because of the involuntary commitment, she suddenly became an armed prohibited person. California Department of Justice officers showed up with no warrant and took every gun in the house.
I didn't even know what gun it was I bought for Dave for Christmas. Couldn't have told you. I've never loaded a gun.
You bring 9 officers to the house, you surround the house. How much is that costing? They didn't need to do that. They embarrassed us in the neighborhood.
It is humiliating when somebody comes to your door and treats you like a criminal. It's not how we should be treating people who are living with an illness.
To the extent that society continues to vilify the mentally ill and to scapegoat them as being the primary cause of gun violence is a major step backward.
There needs to be some better policing of who they're coming after.